me bring you up to speed. We are well on our way into puppet making here. We've started Betsy, our lovely lady, that we are making from scratch, and we will be continuing with her very soon. But we are also going to be working on a puppet that I began long before I decided to give this a go. Meet Dr Cecil, my son-to-be, is an old safari professor character who spends his time surveying jungle lands for new species and creatures. That was the vision, that's the vibe. So let me take you through what I've done to get to this point, including his very swanky new eyebrow mechanism, and then we can get on with making him a hand today with posable fingers. He's got some very cool mechanisms and new ideas, and I do think it's important to constantly challenge yourself and make new contraptions that can really help bring him to life. The final design will be covered in exotic birds, so I wanted him to be able to look shocked and surprised when he discovers them. But I had to do it on a budget, and essentially what I had to work with was just stuff I had around the house. So I did a bit of research and I came up with this. Stay with me. Basically, it's an old clothes hanger, and the aim is you want to bend it in a straight line and then give a long way down, straight line again, and curve the edges. And then what you do before you curve the edges is put a little eyeball, whatever thing you're using for an eye, on the straight bit, because basically you want to grab a nice cheap coat hanger and cut the straight line bit at the bottom away from the hooky bit at the top, and then you want to sort of bend it into this very suggestive shape with whatever eyes you're using attached to it. So that could be ping pong balls or wooden balls, and then you want to curve around the spare wire in front of the eyeballs to sort of give it a brow bone that we can eventually add fabric to cover that mechanism. And then to install it, you sort of make a villain mask shape into the skull of your choice and stick the eyes in place so that the eyes stay still but your eyebrows move up and down a bit more like this. If you would like a full video on the eye mechanism in more detail, as I realise it might be quite useful if that's your bag, do let me know and I can try and make that happen. This is the handle here, this long piece, and this is where the eyes will sit, and then you've got curvature over the top. So imagine you've got this long bar, and as you move it, you've got these eyebrow bones that are able to go up like that whilst keeping the eyes in the same place. So you don't move the eyes when you move the eyebrows. So we fitted that, and then I got some really cheap Santa hair off Amazon and fitted that to his face, gave him some eyes and a nose. So this is where we're at the minute. There's a mechanism inside him now where you can see he can launch in surprise, which is really good, or he can have his eyes looking really angry. I think it's important to stretch your skills if you can and not stay comfortable. I added his body and I've done one arm, but we're going to do the other arm today. So there's a few things you want to think about when you're making your hands. Basically, we have our hands as humans like this, so our thumb is on the top always and it looks out like that. So I've already done one arm for him here, and we need to make sure that the next arm we make is the opposite way round to make sure that they're both thumbs up, if that makes sense. I got this fabric for him for £1 from a clearance bin, and I absolutely love the texture that you have here, and it's really tightly knit as well, so it doesn't fall out like fluff does and get everywhere. But it also, as you can see here on his arm a little bit, his seam is really quite well covered because this fabric just sort of allows you to hide any seam lines. If you're using sort of a fleece, as we are for the puppet that we're building all the way through together, you can just see every sort of seam that you give it because fleece is very unforgiving and it's very flat. I just sometimes prefer to pick something with a bit of texture, a bit of fluff to sort of hide what you're doing. Once again, to disclaim before I begin, I use a mixture of very professional and incredibly unprofessional methods based on the house that I'm in and the facilities I have around me. So don't take what I do as gospel. If you have something that works better for you, or you can use more professional methods, absolutely go for it. This is just what I do with the capabilities that I possess. So with that, I'm going to start by drawing out my arm. I've got this pattern here. It's really good and it's free. I'll link it in the description. You can absolutely make your own if nothing floats your boat and your character sort of demands a bit more. But we're going to start with this hand. So what I like to do is draw out the whole pattern, and then you can see here I've got a line on my pattern, and that's because I like to give a little bit of extra room after I've drawn the pattern, so I'll repeat that bit at the end, because basically when I shove in his arm to make it stay, I don't want to use any of the length of the actual pattern. I want a little bit extra that I can plop in there so his arms don't look too short, because if I didn't add a little bit of extra room, his arms will be like this because you're using actual part of the pattern. So I personally like to add a little bit of extra room, but you totally don't have to. So we're just going to draw that out now. I've cut out the pattern, and as you can see, I've left a little bit of a gap here, and that's going to be used as our sewing allowance seam. It's really important when you cut out a pattern, do not cut out on the pattern line, because then you're removing part of that pattern. So just give it a little bit of space where you can as you go around. But we've cut these out. I'll put them to one side for a moment. So what I'm going to do next is make the lining for the inside of my hand. And how I'm going to do that is I've got these extra pieces of scrap foam. If you're following along with that series, or you're making a puppet of your own, you should have some foam about, but if you don't, I'll put it in the description. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out the hand, not the arm, just the hand, twice on these pieces of scrap foam and cut them out. And that's going to be the basely boning and filling of our actual hand. It doesn't have to be neat, because as you'll see shortly, my method of putting things together is incredibly unconventional. So it totally doesn't matter if you miss a little bit of the finger or it's a bit on the wonk. I've cut them out, and now is the time to make sure that we get the orientation properly. So this arm is already like this, so that means we need to make it opposite, so the thumbs are touching when she's all together. So that means it's going to be this way up, this orientation. So I'm going to put this back down and use the back one as our base for how we're going to make our endoskeleton. The next step is a little bit fiddly, but it's going to be totally okay. What you're going to need is a glue gun, some cardboard, and a little bit of jewellery wire, like not very thick wire at all, sort of thin and malleable, and that's what we're going to use for our endoskeleton. If you have a 3D printer or something along those lines, you could totally make a mechanism of your own, but I'm in a flat and I don't have much to use. So this is always what I use, and it works really well to pose the fingers really nicely. I've got my cardboard, and I'm just cutting out a bunch of rounded small squares, and I'm going to use that to hold my endoskeleton in place. We're going to stick these all together in a nice big chunky layer. If you've got really thick cardboard, that's much better. I've only got thin cardboard today, so I'm just going to layer it up. I would layer up fat cardboard anyway, just to give it a little bit of stability and something extra. I'll just move Cecil along so he doesn't get caught in the crossfire. What I'm going to do first is just connect all of these squares together so we have as much thickness and stability as we possibly can. But don't worry too much, whatever you've got is totally fine, because we're going to layer it up and it will be stronger and stronger. So now we've done that, and we're going to let that dry. I'm now going to get my wiring and a wire cutter. It's really good if you have one of these. It just makes life a lot easier when working with wire. I like to get a long bit like this, cut it up, and then have it as a loop here. Get a really thick needle, and I push it through the cardboard and sort of spin it around to try and make that hole as big as possible. And then what I'm going to do, you see how there's two loose ends here and a loop here? So I'm going to bring through those two loose ends through the hole. Don't ask me why I do it like this. It's a little bit fiddly, so just stick with it. I bring it through the hole until both sides of the wire are sort of the same height. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over and sort of just try and create a little bit of a knot. So pull that loop back so it's on the base, sort of like that. And then I'm just going to twist this around, because we want to make it as thick and durable as possible, but we also want to make it quite easy to move. You don't want like really thick wire, because then the fingers really struggle. So I'm just going to wrap this round, and it's important, I should have said, it's important that you make your hole in correspondence and line up with your fingers or thereabouts. So I'm going to measure how long my finger is, and you can see it's this long. So I'm then going to bend that back there and fold it again as much as I can, just to give it thickness and durability. But this wire is so malleable, which is really good, so we should be a-okay. And then I'm just gonna compress all the spiky bits with my wire cutter just to break that down a bit. That is our finger number one, and then we're going to repeat that process for each finger and thumb. My makeshift endoskeleton is completed. So you can see here you've got the wires going up to the length of the fingers. What I'm going to do now is hot glue this plate in place so that when the hand is all stitched up, the endoskeleton stays where it needs to stay. Definitely make sure the plate is where I need it to be, and judge that by the length of the fingers that you've measured earlier. So I started gluing the hand together, but I forgot a very important step. So let's backtrack. Basically, I want a handle on his hand like this one so that you can move him up and down as you're operating him. And what I decided to use for the vibe of Dr. Cecil is a knitting needle, because I think they kind of look like walking sticks as he's going through the jungle, and I just really like the look of the natural wood with the vibe that we're going for him. So I'm going to use the point of the knitting needle and I'm going to glue it securely in here. Because the thumb has to be up at the top here, I'm going to make sure that this is coming out of the bottom, so make sure that you glue it in the right place. If you haven't got knitting needles or clothes hangers, just use whatever stick you have readily available. You can use a chopstick, you can use anything, you can use a proper professional handle if you want, but I like to play about with my handles. I'm going to hot glue this in place, and then I'm going to glue the other half of the hand on it like a little sandwich, so everything's really secure. So I'm just going to cover this bad boy in glue and give him a moment to set. Whilst he's drying, I'm going to get the other half of my hand and press that on top like a sandwich. We're going to secure it in extra bits, but just to keep it in place, I'm going to add a little bit more glue and stick her on, and we're going to press that down as much as we can just to keep her in place. You should have something like this. This is what it should look like. We're going to make it a little bit more refined before we put his mittens on. If you've been following along where we're making a puppet from scratch, this is where one of my very unprofessional methods comes into play. Because I don't have access to sort of big boy glues and cement, whatever, I sew my pieces together for my own peace of mind, and I also think for a hand especially, it gives it a lovely 3D shape because you're sort of folding it in and making it a bit more compact, and it will keep the skeleton at bay. It also gives the handle a little bit extra stability because it ensures that it cannot come out. Even if your glue isn't very good and you haven't glued it in very well, this will not move when we've done this method. It doesn't have to be neat at all, but I am going to sew all the way around the edge quite tightly to just give it a little bit of extra shape. This is a good opportunity to make sure that our makeshift skeleton stays in its proper place, because you're literally sewing in the skeleton to the fingers. I've just finished very unneatly sewing her up, and you can already see a little bit more definition and a little bit more handiness. What we can now do is sort of pose it in a way that will make it look like his right hand, because we want the orientation to be up here, but we want the palm to sort of come in a little bit and not have a flat straight hand. So what I like to do is just a little press on the cardboard, and it automatically just makes it a little bit more palmy. But you can see now that our fingers are really easy to pose and move, which is going to be great because I plan for him to hold a lot of things. So this is where we're at the moment, and now what we're going to do is attach the skin. I think you could glue this together, but I never feel comfortable doing that, so I'm going to sew it. I would usually sew things inside out and then flip it over, but because we've got this endoskeleton chunkiness here, what I do is I sew it on top of the hand like this. I line both bits up together and I sew around it, and as I sew, I curl in these seam allowances that I've been given and I stitch onto a line like that, so that when it's done you don't have any seam lines and you don't have any bit where the fabric is ending. So to get it all lined up, I lie my pattern flat and I just put the hand where I want it to sit and line up the hand that I've made with the pattern that I've got. And then what I do is I pin it all the way through, and then I do the same thing with the other side. I roughly line up where I want the hand to go and I place it on top and I add a wee pin like that. There you go. So that is what will keep it secure as you sew it. Feel free now to stitch and glue your way around. I've done a little cheeky Blue Peter and I have stitched a hand earlier together, so he's all ready to go. You can see we've got the posable fingers ready and he's looking all nice and fluffy, but we do have a bit of an empty arm. You can get sort of foam tubes, which I think work really nicely, but I only discovered them incredibly recently, so I don't have any, but I do have a pillow that I no longer care about. Most of the pillows in my flat are incredibly deflated. I like to just cut a little hole in my cushions and use that as stuffing. If you've got any pillow that you don't care about, now's a really good time to put it to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push some stuffing down the arm, and I do that by getting the end of my Sharpie, putting the stuffing in the opening, and I just push it in. It's a bit fiddly because it's quite a long and thin arm, but you just stuff it in like that and make sure that it goes to the very end of the arm, so we're not having any little gaps and it's all as even as we can make it with the stuffing that we're using, because the stuffing that I'm using is very bad quality and quite old. Working my way in, shoving it in using the end of the Sharpie. So his arm is all done and ready. Time to attach to our lovely gentleman here. Bear in mind his neck hole's not attached yet, so don't worry about that. But I've made a little hole here for his arm, and I've already got a little hole here in the back of his body for my hand to eventually go through when we operate him properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed that little bit of extra fabric that we added at the beginning through the hole. And we want to make sure as we bring the arms out that they are sort of the same length. What you don't want is one arm much shorter than the other. So I've shoved his arm through, and it's really important that you sort of line them up in the same sort of height, because you don't want one arm up here and one arm down here. And also, now we're here, just double check that these arms are the same length as each other. So what I'm going to do as I sew it in, because this fabric's really forgiving, you can't really see a seam, but what gives it away is sort of a drop in texture. So what I'm doing as I go around and I stitch, I'm just bringing my needle into that seam line and bringing that fur back out that's been folded away by our sewing, just so it makes it a little bit more invisible, because you see over here, it's really hard to even detect a difference or a line. So we're just going to give it that same effect and just bring out those bits of fluff that we've hidden away. I also find it really useful to have the head off during this time as well, because it means you can get to those finicky little bits. Okay, so I've attached the arms. They're looking swell, they're looking good, they're looking even. I'll just put his head on. Okay, so I haven't attached the neck yet, but I have now attached the arms, and he is looking great. He is looking swell. What I would do usually is put his clothes on first and then attach his arms, because it can be a bit fiddly to get them over the large hands and the sticks, but he is only going to be wearing sort of like a vesty thing, so I figured it would be okay. But if you are making one at home, it might be best to add the clothes first and then add the hands, because it can be a little bit awkward. But I'm really happy with him so far. He's coming along amazing. We will be continuing with him in future episodes, which is going to be really good. If you do want to see how a puppet is made from scratch using my very unconventional methods, you can check out our video that we're doing with Betsy up here. We've currently built her head and we're going to go further along. Link in the description or at the end. I'm so sorry that I didn't start when we started him, but we're here now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.